Welcome to multiplying and adding decimals. Today we're going to use a very simple strategy for dealing with those decimal points when they appear in a multiplication or addition problem. We're going to call it the count them up or line them up strategy. Here are some things you want to remember when multiplying decimals. First, when multiplying with decimals, you can treat it just like any other multiplication problem. In fact, in the beginning, when multiplying, you can just ignore the decimals. You'll take care of the decimal point at the end of the problem. So start out by multiplying like normal, and then you want to count up how many numbers are behind each decimal point. This is where the count them up part of the strategy comes in. Then moving from left to right, you want to move over the total number of spaces you counted and place your decimal point. Make sure that the number of decimal digits in your answer matches the number of decimal digits in your problem. You may need to annex zeros to the left if there are not enough digits when moving your decimal point over. When we use the word annex, we simply mean that we are going to add zeros in order to hold our place value. Let's take a look at this problem. 1 and 73/100 times 1 and 5/10. We simply write down the first number 1 and 73/100 and then put 1 and 5/10 below it. We're going to treat it simply like a regular multiplication problem, ignoring those decimal points altogether. Okay, so 5 and 3 is 15. We're going to carry the 1. 5 times 7 is 35 plus 1 is 36. We're going to carry the 3. 5 and 1 is 5 plus 3 is 8. When we move down to the next row, we're going to be using the 1, so what we want to do is we're going to put a 0 here to hold the place because our first number is going to show up underneath the number we're multiplying by. So 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 7 is 7, 1 times 1 is 1, and then we're simply going to add those together. So 5 and 0 is 5, 6 and 3 is 9, 8 and 7 is 15. We're going to carry the 1, 1 and 1 is 2. If we left this number alone, our answer would be 2,595. That is a really large answer when we go back up and look at our original problem, because 1 and 73/100 is really, if we round it off, is basically 2. And 1 and 5/10 is also rounds off to approximately 2. So basically we have a problem here where we're multiplying 2 times 2. So we definitely don't want an answer that says is in the thousands. So we're going to go and use our count them up strategy. So we're going to look at the number of digits behind the decimal point. So we have 1 number, 2 numbers here, and then on the next row we have another number. That makes 3 numbers altogether total. So now we're going to go down in our answer and move over 3 total numbers in our answer from left to right. So we have 1, 2, 3 over, and then we're going to place our decimal point. So our answer turns out to be 2 and 595 thousandths, which basically rounds off to around 3. So that's a much better answer than the original one we came up with no decimal points in. So that answer makes a lot more sense. So now let's take a look at our addition with decimal points. When adding with decimals, we want to use what we call the line them up strategy, because you must line up decimals when adding. Then you can annex or add zeros when needed to hold a place, and it is really important here that you estimate your answer to help check your work. Ask yourself, does your answer make sense? So here are a few examples. I have 4 and 75/100 plus 3 and 5/10. Now, let's take a look at how it may appear. I've seen some students do this before. I've seen 4 and 75/100, and they say, okay, I'm just going to put the 3 and 5/10 right below it. Well, we're not using our line them up strategy here. You can see these decimal points do not line up. And if we add it up now, we've got a 10. It's a little hard to use this. 7 and 3 is 10 and 1 is 11. And then we can bring this up and we have another, and we have We got 510 here. And I'm not even sure where do we put the decimal point. Here, do we put it here? So that's just, no, that does not work. Ugh. So let's take a look at our line them up strategy. Let's put our first number down, 4 and 75/100ths, and then let's line up the second number under the first with our decimal point. So our 3 and 5/10 is going to line up right underneath. Okay? And I'm going to put a 0 here just to hold that place so our numbers don't get squished together. It's very easy for that to happen. And then we're going to add. So take a moment, make sure your decimal points are lined up, and you put your decimal point down here in the answer. In fact, just to point this out, notice these are lined up. Okay? All right. So then we have 5 and 0 is going to give me 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Put down the 2, carry the 1. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. So now we're going to ask ourselves, does my answer make sense? 8 and 25/100ths. Well, let's go back up to the original problem. 4 and 75/100ths, that's about 5. And 3 and 5/10ths would round up to 4. So we're basically saying 4 plus 5 plus 4. And 5 plus 4 is going to give me 9, and 9 is very close to 8 and 25/100ths. So yes, my answer does make sense. So then we're going to go on to another problem here. Let's try this one. 71 and 2/10 plus 3. Well, I have seen all kinds of creative ways of answering this problem. Not correct, but creative. I've seen 71, and again, we put our 2 here, and then I see people, they just put the 3 right underneath, and then they just get something like 71 and 5. Well, and if I look at this number here, 71 and 2/10 is basically 71, and 3 is 3. So that's 71 plus 3, that's 74. Well, that number is not close to that, even if I put the decimal point there. So no, don't like that. Then I've seen students get creative and put the number at the other end, and then we get something like 2 and 1, and then 7 and 3 is 10. So then we get this really huge number, and then, I don't know, we're going to put the decimal point here. Well, that 101 is definitely nowhere near 74, so that's definitely not the right answer. So let's go back and take a look at that line them up strategy again. So we're going to put the first number down, 71 and 2/10. And now we have to ask ourselves, this 3, where is the decimal point in the 3? Well, this 3 is 3 ones. So where's the ones place? Well, this is the ones place, this is the tens place, so we're going to put the 3 directly underneath this 1. And then we're going to put a decimal point and a 0 here to hold that place so that everything stays lined up. And then we're going to add. So now we have lined up our decimal point, and we're going to put it right down here in the answer. So again, lined up. Okay, that's our line them up strategy. And then 2 plus 0 is 2, 1 plus 3 is 4, 7 and nothing is 7. So our answer is 74 and 2/10. So does your answer make sense? Well, remember our original estimation was 71 plus 3 was 74, and our final answer is 74 and 2/10. So those answers are very close to each other. So yes, it does make sense. So just remember, when multiplying with decimals, treat it like a regular multiplication problem, and then you want to count up all those digits that are behind the decimal point and put them in your answer. When adding decimals, you want to line up those decimals. You want to line them up. Make sure all those decimals are lined up when adding. I hope you find the count them up and line them up strategies helpful when dealing with multiplication and addition and decimals.